everybody. It's Safi and Marco. Dish out on the movies. Today we are ranking all the seasons of American Horror Story, including the latest one, which is from part of last year coming into this year. It hasn't been on yet, but it is coming, but we saw enough of it to rank it. And there's 12 seasons. And we'll begin with the bottom one and go all the way to the top, meaning the worst to the best. So the number 12 one is Delicate, and that's the latest one that I just mentioned. And go ahead, Marco.
Well, Safi really should be the authority on this, even though she was supposed to have finished the book.
I didn't finish the book because I thought it was boring, and I really... Yeah. It was, even though I think I listened to it even for an audiobook, which usually helps because I can put it on and do anything. But the problem is it was just boring. I just didn't care for it.
Yeah. Well, the season, number one, I thought that it was very lazy and disappointing that instead of making their own original story, they would copy a book and adapt a book, because that's not what American Horror Story is about. American Horror Story is about original stories, because they all fit together in the same universe. And now we have this odd man out season where this is based on a book, and it's like, well, that's not really American Horror Story. It's like it should have just been its own thing that neither of us would have watched. It was very bland. I don't even have to bother watching the second half to know that it's the worst of the series, because number one, it has Kim Kardashian. I mean, that's already like automatically last place material, right, Safi?
Even their own cast members. Now, I'm not saying the ones that are in it this season with her, but other regular cast members in the past seasons complained about her being on it.
Yeah.
And because she's not an actress.
Yeah.
I don't think she's ever said she was an actress.
And guess what Ryan Murphy is going to be doing with her after this American Horror Story season?
What?
He's writing and producing and directing a show just for her. And she's going to be the star. And she's going to be the head of this feminazi legal company that likes to handle divorces and, steal all men's money and take their children away from them. So, it's going to be like she's a badass lawyer, just like she wants to be in real life, so
that's a joke.
What do you think of that?
That's stupid.
Yeah.
I wouldn't watch it.
Another reason why this season sucks is just because, just in terms of story, it has taken too long to tell us what's going on. It's very uninteresting. It's basically ripping off Rosemary's Baby in a really boring way. And Rosemary's Baby was already fucking boring as hell. And another thing that makes this season unique is that I believe this is the first season where they've started using those sex police people on set. Mm-hmm. And so that's just another reason to say that the series is trash. They had this supposed sex scene with Kim Kardashian. It was the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen. And, it looks like trash in comparison to, all the... I mean, this is a show that's been known for being explicit for the whole series. They never needed those people on set, and all of a sudden, they quote-unquote need them. They really don't. And it's just another indicator that this season is the worst one. So, Safi?
Okay.
You have anything else to add?
Actually, that one thing about the actor who plays Emma's husband, I've talked about this before. I can't even remember his name, but he was on The Good Wife, and he was a really good character. He was a lawyer, and he plays a terrible character in this show, and I just hate it. He's just so antithetical, and he doesn't do... I mean, maybe he's supposed to be this way, because he's weak. I mean, he's supposed to be, weak. And he just, he's mean, and he's got something nefarious going, just like in Rosemary's Baby. although the guy who played the woman's husband of Rosemary's Baby was likable.
He was very likable.
And this guy, he was likable in The Good Wife, but he's not likable in this role. I don't like that.
Make sure to be louder, Safi. And what's the next one?
Okay, well, the next one's Colt. And that just speaks...
What number?
Oh, it's number 11.
Okay.
And that just speaks for itself.
Yeah. I mean...
I hate to say it, because when you say the word, you feel like somebody just threw a pie in your face.
Yeah. Because this season... I feel like this season had the most potential out of all the seasons of the series, probably. And it was the one that was the most disappointing, or one of the most disappointing ones, because what they did is every episode they just try to do worse and worse things. Like they kill someone, kill 2 people, kill 5 people, kill 10 people, and then like, oh, we're going to go around stabbing pregnant women all night long, 1,000 of them, and just do this and that and this and that. And it was so weird. It was like over the top bizarre how they kept on doing worse and worse things each episode. None of the characters were likable. The villain, he was basically like an agenda type character so that they could rag on Trump. And, the whole season was just kind of like, we're mad that Trump won, so we're going to make this crybaby agenda season where it's all about how, men are evil and women are all the victims. And, so what ends up happening, one of the highlight moments of the season is that, the main villain, he tries to do this weird ritual with his sister where he gets this gay guy, or no, he's gay in real life and on the show, and he gets him and he says that he's going to have sex with the gay guy while the gay guy is having sex with her so that he can transmit his savior baby into her, and she can birth a savior baby for their cult. And just examples of like that, just very, very weird.
Just like somebody when he said that, it felt like he just punched me in the face. That's what I felt like. I've never heard anything so asinine and stupid. I mean, I can't even believe they would say something stupid like.
Well, he was just
so stupid.
He was just making it up, and then they had that whole episode all about that crazy feminazi Valerie Solanas. That was probably one of the worst TV episodes in history, even worse than the whole first season of Goosebumps. But the only thing that I can say for this season is that they tried to do a good finale. They had the villain. He's still alive in the finale. They had the main hero. She's still alive. And they do get to face off against each other. And I do feel like with seasons Cult, Apocalypse, and 1984, they actually tried to have like better finales where the heroes and villains faced off. And I think that that's something to note. Safi?
I'm trying to think what that would be. Like 25% of... That represents 25% of...
well, 3 seasons out of 12.
That's 4, so 25%.
Yeah.
So of all of the seasons, had a good finale. That's not good.
Well, no, I didn't say they were good. I just said that
reasonable or acceptable.
I don't know.
Acceptable to good.
They tried to improve. You could tell, and so that there's that. What's next, Safi?
Next is double feature, and that is number 10.
Ooh. Now, this season, it was supposed to be like season 10. It's the what do you call it? The milestone season.
I don't know what it was, but it was an experiment, and it was an experiment gone wrong in a million ways. But the problem is, they had 2 different stories.
And both of them deserve to be entire seasons. They should not have been just smushed together into a double feature.
And then they cut the number. So that meant that they had to cut the number of shows per season. And so, radically cut.
Yeah.
because then they would have had too many episodes in total for the whole thing. So that just screwed up. And somebody just argued with me on YouTube about True Detective, that I said that their last show is this coming week, end of the week, and I said you can't. I mean, this is even worse because I can't remember how many episodes there were in each. Do you remember in this double feature?
Well, in double feature, I think it was like
4 and 4.
yeah, 4 and 4 or something, or maybe like 6 and 4. That's too much. They weren't capable of doing that.
You can't tell a story if you can make
Yeah.
if you have too few episodes, and it's complicated, and you can't adequately tell it.
Yeah.
So you end up rushing it at the
Yeah.
end. I mean, that's just one thing. I won't go on to the rest, but that's what they're doing with this True Detective, I believe, and that is a very complicated, layered story with, I don't know what's going to happen, reality and weirdness, but it was this one. I think it was just like taking a axe and hammering it down on the especially the Dracula one, even the
Dracula one.
I'm just calling it the Dracula.
It's called Red Tide.
Yeah, okay.
Red Tide, because they had a scene where those two kill themselves and the tide turns red, remember?
And they really
that was the best scene. That was the best scene of the season.
I thought there were some intriguing pieces to that.
The first story, it started off like it could be really good. You know, Finn Wittrock coming back, he was fantastic. All the actors were really good except for the blonde woman who played the agent. She just did not fit in the show at all. And Macaulay Culkin and Crybaby were really, really good.
Yeah, Macaulay Culkin was really good. I was surprised.
I felt like this should have been a season. This should have been a full 13-episode season.
Yeah.
It should not have been a 4-episode fuck. And then, even worse, the finale was awful. I mean, there was just nothing redeemable about the finale. The finale, they just ruined everything. And they
they threw a wet blanket on it.
And then they had some, like, BLM agenda thing where they killed all these police or something like the vampires did, and that was stupid. And it felt like the finale was probably one of the worst finales I've ever seen. It was so bad, they even shortened the time of the finale. They made it like 30 minutes or something. Because it was so, like, there was nothing there, and of course I think they blamed the pandemic.
And then the other half of it was about Eisenhower and aliens, and Eisenhower working with aliens to explain things, historical things that were happening. And I thought the Eisenhower, I mean, just them talking about them, because we never hear anything about. And in this kind of story, I thought that part was interesting.
I thought it was lame.
It might have been, might have been lame, but I just thought because it would be interesting. Some of these historical figures we don't have any reason unless it's some kind of war story or something, but this was supernatural. And that's what I liked about it. But that was the only thing. And then they had a bunch of sex stuff, gay and straight. And you had these people, and they started talking about things related to their sex lives, which I thought I didn't like it. I didn't, you talk about the sex police. What about the "you're burning my ears off" police? I just think, I felt so sorry for the family of one of the actors who were saying this most noxious stuff, that if they were doing a watch party, because I don't think he is in a lot of things, they would have been embarrassed to death. So that part of it, it was like my ears fell off from being burned to death. So
Another thing, in the second half, I felt like it was a huge wasted opportunity, especially since, they had a bunch of alien stuff earlier on in the series. And Safi, see, this is why you get your work done early in the day, Safi, and don't wait to do videos in the evening.
I can't believe they're doing that now. It's dinner time.
Yeah, well,
they're not supposed to. They don't do that now.
Okay, well, they're doing it. So, anyways, they hinted at alien stuff earlier on in the series. With season 2, Evan Peters' character, he got abducted, I believe, and he disappeared. And there were all these potentially great stories that they could have told, like, the characters that we didn't give a fuck about, these annoying, bratty agenda characters from college. They all get taken to Area 51 and they're all impregnated. And there was so much missed opportunity there. Like, the stories that I was coming up with on the reviews were actually better than what they actually did on the show. Which is kind of like a frequent thing that happens on this channel. We had said that, like, it would have been really cool if, like, one of the babies that they birthed, that, like, maybe it was an alien monster and it would help them escape and it would kill everyone there at Area 51. Like, that would have been cool. Or, like, just and also Evan Peters, like, it was so weird how in the first part of the season he comes back as one of the villains, and then in the second part of the season, when they finally do a season about aliens, Evan Peters does not come back, and we don't find out the fate of that character. So that was really annoying. Like, that part of that Death Valley, it was such a waste. Like, it was such a waste of talent, and and lots of terrible acting too. Because in the second half, they didn't have Finn Whitrock, they didn't have Lily, they didn't have Crybaby. Well, actually, they did. They did have her. She was the only good thing about the second half.
Mamie, right?
She played the wife, and
that was fun.
she was the best part, but still her story was trash. In the second half, they had that model woman who always looks like she's constipated. She's trash. She can't act. They had those 2 guys who are pretending to be gay. They're trash. They can't act. Then they had that one black girl who talked about how men's, is venomous on her chest and it's acidic on her chest. And, of course, that was something where it was a really weird, like, detail that they mentioned. And it was so surprising that never came back again in the plot. Like, I thought that she was mentioning that because it would come back later on, like, literally with the aliens impregnating her. And I thought it could have been, and see, nope, can't do that. It's too hard. It's too hard to just do the obvious things that are right there in front of you that, when normal people look at these stories, they're like, yeah, that's what you should do. Safi?
Okay, well, the next one is number 10, I think. 12, 11 to 9, sorry. And that is New York City. And this was a very weird thing. The story is true. In other words, it's based on the what would you call it? The invasion of the AIDS virus into our country, and of course into New York City. And they don't talk about like in San Francisco, but with all the gays and the bathhouses, etc. And nobody knew what it was, and it really showed, I think, it seemed to me like a pet project of Brian.
No, it wasn't. What it was that same year he was doing Dahmer.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
right.
So he took all the elements from Dahmer, and he's like, let's just recycle all those elements and do like a lazy American Horror Story where it's like, it's the runoffs from Dahmer, because Dahmer was more important to him.
The thing about it, I liked it in terms of the horror is AIDS, and nobody knew what it was, how they got it, how it was transmitted, and people were just dying off right and left, and that's the way it was. And then they added this little, because all of the American Horror Stories have some kind of horror or supernatural, something odd, you know. This was odd, but this was real. Was that they it has something to do with these tarot cards, and they made them magical, where to show something bad about somebody, instead of just, usually they'll say, okay, this card shows that you're in trouble. This card shows you're going to die, etc., etc. They made them fly all over the place. And so every time there was this tarot card reading, they did weird stuff with them, you know, in terms of their movement. So,
I think it's worth mentioning, you know, this season, it was quite different because they did not market this season at all.
yeah.
Like, I didn't even know that it was coming out until, like, the last minute. And then when it came out, they did something that really indicates how little faith they had in the season doing well. And that is, they aired 2 episodes at a time every week, which I felt like the season, it started off terribly, but it actually got pretty good in the middle and towards the end. You know, they had this killer guy, and he was actually very creepy, and you know, he was really freaky. He was like a Frankenstein's monster. And they had all these interesting plots that they didn't really follow through on, too. And then the end of the season became trash again. You know, in particular, you know, they had this story about, well, maybe AIDS came from Plum Island. And then they never went to Plum Island. They never went into it at all. And then they had this, in the finale, there was this rich gay character, and he's dying of AIDS. And they did this kind of a Christmas Carol type of thing, where they made him realize, like, all the bad things that he had done. And I thought it would have been such a better idea that if in the Murphy verse, that after that happened, that maybe he would have used his money to help solve the AIDS epidemic and go to Plum Island, figure out what's really going on. That would have been such a better ending than just, oh, everybody dies and it's like a music video. And of course, we didn't even mention the most hilarious part of the season. Gino. And there was
Never
this...
forget that name. And there's a quarterback for the, what is it? The Seattle Seahawks. I think his name is Gino. And every time I hear that word, I think of this series about New York City and Gino.
And this character, he was definitely the most hilarious character on the show because, you know, he was like a theater director or something, a very famous theater director, and, you know, he was so over the top in this season. He was like yelling every single line. It was really hilarious, and, you know, like in the finale, his boyfriend's dying in the hospital of AIDS, and he goes in there, and he does something really gross. He takes he's got applesauce, and he's like, I got the good stuff. It's got cinnamon in it. And then he licks the spoon. And I thought, what the hell? Like, nobody would do that. Especially, this guy's sick.
They don't know how it's spread.
Yeah.
But they know it's a terrible disease and everybody's dying. So why would you lick the spoon of somebody who is dying of a disease that you have no idea how it's spread?
Yeah.
I mean, this is why I'm saying these are the early days of AIDS. And I know, it's funny how both Marco and I remember that.
Well, I remember the whole season,
so clearly.
Yeah.
So
another thing is, the last thing to mention is that the whole season, they not only had Mr. Whiteley, but they also had this Leatherman character, and it was like they were trying to bait the fans of the show to come back, because it's like, look, it's another Leatherman. Well, the Leatherman, his identity is just, he doesn't have one. He's the Grim Reaper. It was so predictable that I was able to predict it in one of our reviews. And I thought that was very disappointing. Like, I was looking forward to, like, him being an actual character. So, yeah, that was stupid. What's next, Safi?
Okay, number 8, that was 9. Number 8 is Coven. And Coven is what it is. It's witches.
This season is... Now, I don't blame people for liking the season because I do think that it has some of the best performances of the series. Yeah. You know, like Kathy Bates and Angela Bassett and Jessica Lange. But the problems outweigh the positives because this season is the most messiest, over-the-top season of the series. There's so many things that don't make sense, and it was really bad for me because I basically binge-watched this whole season in a day, and I was able to see, like, so many flaws because of doing that and because of watching it all at once, and it was just so, like, blatantly obvious that, like, the people writing this, they just didn't care. They just wanted to write their little pretty Mean Girls witches season where, these pretty girls in their pretty clothes have these little powers, and it's like they really didn't put much thought and effort into actually telling a story that made sense. And one of those things was, well, actually, they had this character named Queenie, and she was really, really unlikable because she had this whole plot where she's got to get along with Kathy Bates, and they're both kind of like growing and realizing that, they're both not so bad. They're growing as people, and then all of a sudden, Queenie betrays her, or they both betray each other, and it's just like F you. And then Queenie joins the other coven because the other coven is black, and so she's racist.
They're Haitian, and they're voodoo people. It's not the other kind of witchcraft. I mean, it's all witchcraft, but it's a different kind.
And after that other coven is destroyed, she's just allowed to come back to the regular coven like nothing ever happened. And it's like, why the hell would they want a traitor to come back? And then also, another thing is, in the second half of the season, Jessica Lange's character, she no longer is like a strong, independent woman character. In the second half of the season, she's just glued to that Axeman guy. And I hate it. I would put the season lower if I could. And then in the finale, none of the 3 best characters are in the finale. They take them out the episode or 2 before that. They take out Kathy Bates. Take out Jessica Lange. She's with the Axeman forever. And Angela Bassett and Kathy Bates. So they took out the best characters of the season. And then in the finale, you're left with trash. And then in the finale, they make it even worse because they get rid of that Misty character forever. But then, oh wait, she's brought back in Apocalypse, so it didn't really matter. Like, this season is just a mess. Okay. Safi?
Well,
anything else to say?
No, not really.
Why not?
My favorite character was Angela Bassett. I thought she was the coolest voodoo witch, or whatever you want to call her. Voodoo priestess, I don't know. They have different terms for the things that they use in their witchcraft. And I just thought she was really cool. So that was my favorite character. It's just something that makes an impact on you. And I just thought the way she was impactful. Okay. My number 7, that's my number. Our number 7 is Apocalypse, which we just watched recently. And I had a favorite character in this too, but they ruined him, and it was just screwed up. But I liked Michael because I thought he was the perfect Satan.
Yeah.
I guess he wasn't really supposed to be Satan.
He was the son, the Antichrist.
And God, he was really good at it was just the perfect part.
But then they ruined him.
They wrecked it.
They made him into like a troubled teenager who didn't know what to do. And they also turned it into men versus women again. And, this season, the reason why I put it over Coven is because if you had to force me to watch something I would probably want to watch Apocalypse a little bit more just because it has that Murder House episode. And we'll talk about that. But this season starts off, the first 3 episodes are very, very good. It feels a lot like the Fallout video games. And it's telling a really good, like, apocalypse story. But then
we thought we were getting to.
Yeah, because it's called Apocalypse.
Right.
But then in episode 4 and on, it takes place in the past, and it's all about the stupid witches again. But this time, it's witches versus warlocks, a.k.a. men versus women. And it's just not very good at all. They did have that Murder House episode, which was phenomenal, even though it had some plot holes in it.
Well, this was the series where they brought in several different seasons, pieces of them. So they're still making a connection.
They didn't do a very good job, though.
No, but I just thought it was interesting that they tried that. They just didn't know how to do it right.
Yeah, they needed some help. And one of the things, though, why I put it above Coven as well, is because at least in this season, you have the main villain and all the main heroes together in the finale to face off. Like, that is something that's unique. They didn't do that in Coven. In Coven, the characters get taken out, the interesting ones, they get taken out of the picture before the finale even happens. But in Apocalypse, you get to see Crybaby versus Antichrist. You get to see all these characters face off, and I think that is worth putting over Coven for that reason.
Yeah.
Safi, anything else?
No.
Oh, no. We should mention the twist at the end of Apocalypse was terrible. And it totally, could have ruined the season. Remember that, Safi?
No. I can't remember right.
It's back in the past, and the young couple, they have a baby, and it turns out that their baby is the Antichrist now.
I should have left it off.
Yeah.
No. That was like leftovers from last week's dinner that we nobody's touched until a week later.
Yeah.
And it did not go at all. I didn't appreciate. In fact, I was put off by it because they wrecked what they finished it off. They just should have left it alone.
They did an R.L. Stein.
And I didn't care for it. I was put off. I was annoyed, and I didn't like it. And I wish they just would have left it alone. So anyway, that was number 7. Our number 6 is Hotel.
Now, Hotel, honestly, when we first watched it, I thought it was a lot worse than I do now. And that's just because we hadn't seen these other ones. We hadn't seen Cult yet. And, Cult is just, the worst. And also delicate. But Hotel, this season, they just try to do too much. They try to do these ghost stories. They try to do the story about a 10 Commandments killer. And who is it? They don't reveal the identity, which that's what I thought that they were going to do in 1984. And then they have the whole vampire story. They have a zombie story, I think. And it's too much. They should have just picked one and done it really, really well. But there were a lot of good things about this season. There were a lot of great characters.
I thought it was kind of creative.
Like the maid. And
I like the thing where they all come back on a certain night and play cards or something. All these the ghost of serial killers.
Yeah, all the serial killers, they have a dinner together with the main one, Evan Peters. That was really cool.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. It's just, that's the thing. In most of these, they have some kind of creative element, or a couple of them, but they go off base, or they don't do enough, or they confuse things, or they put too much and don't edit it, and they end up ruining what they start.
Yeah.
Or they make it less than what it could be.
And also, Lady Gaga's character is
I thought
fantastic.
She's really good. I can see why they picked her to be in.
I mean, she has an introduction where it's basically 10 minutes long. There's no dialogue at all, and she's phenomenal. She has a bloody 3 or 4 way, and it's just perfect. Probably one of the best things that ever happened in American Horror Story, and she didn't need any of those sex police on set. Why didn't she need one?
She's not afraid to do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell that she's fearless, so she could probably play anybody and do anything.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't have any fear. She's very confident in herself and what she does, which I think is great. Sometimes it doesn't show that in an actor or actress. You can tell they're intimidated, if they're timid, or they just have to be coaxed, but I don't think you have to coax her to do anything. She was really good.
So I think this season, even though it's a mess, it is actually pretty rewatchable, and I think it's enjoyable. And I think there was one. The only thing that I really hated was the main guy, who was Wes Bentley. I hated his character. He just sucked the life out of everything the whole season. And when he was revealed to be the killer, I was like, I really don't care. Like, fuck this character. Like, he was the worst. Right, Safi?
Well, he's in another show another season we're going to talk about, and he was really, really good. So it's disappointing.
Yeah.
That he wasn't as good as he was.
Safi?
Just a minute. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Okay, next one is number 5, Murder House.
Now, we will try to go a little bit faster. Murder House, I believe, is a classic season. It's very, very fun. It has a Halloween episode, a 2-parter, that was very good for the most part. There were lots of great characters. I think that the simplicity of the season was really good in the sense that they didn't go too over the top. They still pushed the boundaries. They had this Leatherman character that was very interesting and creepy, even though they kind of ruined the reveal of the identity of who that was, which they did fix that in Apocalypse, but still. And I really enjoyed the season, despite its flaws and despite the stuff that didn't make sense. The only thing that I'll say is I did not like the finale, because the finale, just nothing gets resolved, and it's just all who cares? And it's a terrible finale. Apocalypse really makes up for it. So I put Murder House there. Very, very good season. Safi?
I don't know what to say about it. All I can remember is there's this part on the wall, and it keeps saying, no matter who lives there, a big word, murder. No,
that's in Roanoke. That's not
in Roanoke? But I thought they showed it in this, too.
No.
Okay.
That's Roanoke.
I don't know what to say. I didn't think bad of it.
Jessica Lange's in it, so that's a plus, because, she's not in the whole series. She's only in seasons 1 through 4, and then a cameo here and there, so that's another plus. Safi?
I don't know what else to say about it, but that was number 5. The next one is Asylum. That's number 4, and that's one we saw a long time ago.
That doesn't matter.
And it was pretty. I've always liked kind of asylum related shows. I can think of one, but I can't remember the name of it. It's a movie, and it's also a book. And I've read the book. I've seen the movie.
The English Patient?
No, this is I think this is a black and white movie. And, but this was what was interesting about this were all the different characters.
Mrs. Minerva?
Miniver? No, Marco, that's not. I'll have to look it up to see if I can remember somehow. It's like I don't know, like a 60s or 50s.
Betty Davis?
No.
Why not?
So this is called Asylum, and so this is I think this was the second season, right? The first season, I don't even know what the first season is.
Murder House.
Oh, it is.
We just did it.
Oh, that was the first season.
Yeah.
Well, this is Asylum is the second season.
Yeah.
And we saw these a long time ago.
That doesn't matter.
Well, for me, it's just like I said, I just put something on the shelf and then I.
Okay, what did we watch? What did you watch 2 days ago?
2 days ago?
Yeah.
I just saw Apocalypse
You
in
put
1984.
Oh, that's good. I thought you put it on a shelf.
I put that on the shelf too, but that kind of brightens up because it was so. I'm not going to say anything. I liked it. I'll just say that right now. But anyway, Asylum was interesting, and there were all these different characters. I think some negative things happened to screw up the show or the story with the Crybaby.
Yeah, it gets really bad at the end.
Whatever happens with her.
Her story sucks.
It messes it up.
You know, her character is so unlikable. But, you know, there's a lot of great things about the season. This is a very solid season. I mean, it really is like top tier. So just because we're putting it at number 4, that doesn't mean we think that it's bad or anything. You know, there's lots of things like Evan Peters' character. You know, he's innocent of all crimes, and you're looking forward to him getting free. And you're looking forward to him getting back with his wife. Well, actually, he gets with 2 women at the same time. And then they get killed or some stupid shit. It's very dumb.
Yeah, they messed it up.
Jessica Lange's character was fantastic. She had a good character arc. Sister Mary ended up being a great villain. Bloodyface was a great villain. But when the season got to the end, it got very, very bad. Crybaby's character, you know, she's just the worst. She abandons her child, and that effectively turns him into the son of Bloodyface. And he comes back as an adult to confront her, and she humiliates him on television, and she gets to give this like big speech and humiliate him and then kill him herself or some stupid shit, and it's just really, really gay. Like, I really hated it. It was so bad. It was so, like, just not good. It was like something that I thought, like, did a teenage girl write this or something? Like,
it started out as having a lot of promise.
Yeah, and they got rid of the villains. And this was another instance of where they got rid of the best characters, and then you're left with Crybaby and the son of Bloodyface, and it's like, ew, no thanks.
Yeah. Okay, well, number 3 is Freak Show.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that really impacted us. I thought that was really interesting. In fact, I learned something, too, about American history, and even, probably in Europe, too, about these... They would, you know, these carnivals with, and I knew they had this, but I didn't know it was such a large scale, where every human being with some kind of deformity would be put on display in a carnival, and that's kind of what this was. You know, that was like the main hub of the story, where they would have they called it the Freak Show, but there's more to it than that, and that was where this Wes Bentley played this very interesting dark character who transcended time and would visit these people if they did the certain thing or they didn't do it. And I just wanted to make a note that over a year ago we watched this, and Marco was so impacted too. He wanted his birthday cake to have something related. I don't know if it was for the Freak Show or just a clown. So I had them at the bakery. They're really talented. Somebody there drew a picture of that main clown who was a murderer. But I mean, it was such a good picture on the cake, and the colors and everything. The cake was just perfect. And so that was his birthday. And anyway, I just wanted to mention that. I thought, because it was a good show.
I didn't ask for that in particular. I just said American Horror Story themed.
And we had just kind of watched that, like, before his birthday.
And I think that this season is very fantastic in terms of, even though it has a lot of flaws, it's very rewatchable. There's lots of great characters. Jessica Lange's very good. And, the first part where they have Twisty the Clown in the first 4 episodes, that's the best part of the season.
Isn't that who was on the cake?
And I'm not going to answer that. And it was very, very good. It was like, what's going to happen here? You have these freaks, and they have this terrible reputation, and then they have this killer clown going around, and it's making them look like they're bad and like they're killing people. But then they just get rid of them, and for the rest of the season, you're stuck with Dandy, who's a great character, probably one of the best characters of the series, as well as, who else? That Stanley guy. The guy who comes to collect the freaks' body parts and send them to museums. There's just so many great things in the season, and really, really good. It did kind of falter near the end, though, like usual.
Yeah,
it got very disappointing near the end, because Dandy, they build it up to where it could have been like the perfect finale. Dandy gets to buy the carnival. Evan Peters' character is supposed to have some kind of redemption arc. Well, neither happened. Dandy, he never gets to put on the carnival show. He never gets to put on his big show. It's so, disappointing. And then Evan Peters' character, he never becomes, the leader of the freaks, because the freaks all get killed. Dandy shoots them all to death. That was so cool, though, because, they all deserved it. They all were turned into, vicious killers by the end, and they wanted to kill Jessica Lange. Jessica Lange didn't do anything wrong to them. She barely got out by the skin of her teeth, and then they really got payback for doing that, but still, very disappointing end of the season.
So that's sad, but it also... It was a learning experience, too. I mean, I didn't realize. And then that they made a story about it. And it could have been really, it could have ended up really good, but they kind of messed it up again. And, okay, well, number 2 is Roanoke. And,
this is probably the only season of the series that is an actual horror story. Because it's horror in terms of it's scary. It's the only season of the whole series where it's actually scary. It's actually horrifying. They came up with this Roanoke area, and you would not want to go there. You get fucked up. You'd either get killed by these supernatural characters, or you get killed by these inbred cannibals. Safi, what were you gonna say?
Well, I'm just gonna say in that Legend of Sleepy Hollow, the series that was on TV. They did an episode on Roanoke, and it's just completely the opposite. But it was one of my favorite episodes. But I mean, if you compare this American Horror Story to that other, it's like the difference between night and day.
I didn't realize we were talking about Sleepy Hollow.
Well, it's Roanoke. I mean, this not American Horror Story, it was scary. And what they did though, what was very creative, they combined with something that really happened to people, a real experience, with a reality show. That, and at first, we didn't know what was real and what wasn't. Like they were, you know how they'll do a crime show and they'll recreate it, and they have actors who play the parts of the murder victim and the murderers and all the other people. That's what they were doing. And then they had the real people talk about the show, and then they all returned to the place, which was, and they paid them a lot of money, and it was just bizarre because it was dangerous to be there. They were risking their lives because the place is so haunted. With what Marco said, cannibals who lived in the area, a family, they'd been there for hundreds of years. And then these ghosts who had been there for hundreds and hundreds of years. So it was very scary.
And then
and different.
Yeah, it was very, very creative.
Yeah, very creative.
There were lots of great characters. The first half was so good that I was like, if the first half is this good, how good is the second half going to be? Well, the second half, unfortunately, kind of was disappointing. Even though they did set it up like the second half could have been really, really good. And still a lot of good stuff happened. They just had a lot of weird stuff happen too. Like, they had the one thing where that one character, she got to take a bite of that heart, and the witch gave her the doo-doo witch, played by Lady Gaga. She gave her a heart and she bit it, and then she had supernatural powers, and it didn't make any sense at all. But yeah, like this season was really phenomenal. I think it would be worth watching every Halloween.
Yeah.
Kathy Bates was a standout.
Yeah.
Very, very good season. This season was really close to being number one. It's just the biggest reason why it isn't is the finale. The finale is terrible. The finale is just really bad. Like, this character, she sacrifices herself, kills herself for her bratty little bitch daughter, Flora. Is that what she was called? Flora?
I don't remember.
And so that she can be there at Roanoke and guard this other little girl witch that we barely got to know. We barely got to see her character, and she's going to kill herself so that she can guard her. It's like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
And the other spirits.
Yeah, really, really dumb.
Yeah, and that's a shame. Okay, our number one, unbelievably, because I never imagined the way it started, was 1984. That's our number one season.
It's the finale.
And we just watched it.
The finale sealed the deal. It was a great finale. If any of these other seasons had great finales, it would be a different story, and 1984 would not be the best one.
Because it started off like it was, they have a certain cast of actors who play in all these seasons. They'll float in and out as some kind of character. Either they're the main character or they're little sideline characters, and so it started off, it looked like Friday the 13th, and I think, why are they doing this? Why are they copying that show? We just watched every movie of Friday the 13th. There's a lot. And I'm thinking, why would they do that? I mean, there's enough movies about people could watch. It's not that great of a story, but it got better and better and better and better. And then it was so well organized and well thought out until it got to the finale, and then it was great. It was like last night's Super Bowl. In fact, it was just, you couldn't believe it. And it's like, that's what they should do. And it's like they really paid attention and made an effort to make it a well-told story. And it's just like I said, like with skating, on the Olympics, any kind of athletic event, the last thing people remember is what sticks in their mind. And if it's a crappy finale, then it puts taint on the whole season. If it's a good finale like this one was, which it was exceptional, then people remember that they'll think, well, it was a really good season. Actually, it turned out to be a really good season, but the last thing to remember is what sticks in people's minds. So that is so evident.
This season has several things working for it. Number one, it does exactly what I said it should do with Friday the 13th. It gives Jason Voorhees a character, and it gives him a character arc, actually. And just the way that it tells its own Friday the 13th story, all the twists that it does, they're all really, really good. Very, very good. Mr. Jingles, he's probably one of the best characters of the series. Richard Ramirez, he was also
is another perfect character.
One of the best characters of the series. He was just amazing, even though they made him look really cool and like really awesome. I mean, he's kind of like, I don't know. But one of the great things was that he was like Michael Myers, and Mr. Jingles was like Jason. So we got to see Michael Myers versus Jason in this series. And I thought that that was really unique. And I just think, too, that, like, this season, it's the only season where it actually gets better as it goes on, rather than gets worse. Like, the first half is not very good. It could have been improved a lot. It should have been improved a lot. The second half, though, it just gets better and better and better. And then the finale is amazing. And it's like, well, that's that. You know, Roanoke didn't have a good finale, so I'm not going to put it above 1984 ever.
Yeah. And really, they should, I know, maybe it doesn't matter, but they ought to listen to some of this feedback.
They don't.
Especially with the finale business.
They never listen to feedback in Hollywood now.
Because they really would benefit from it. Because it was an excellent finale. And you can't even say that nowadays with these series.
Yeah.
That, for the most part, the finales are crappy.
And they're rushed.
They're rushed because there's not enough episodes. And we've been over this and over this. I can't believe somebody actually bitched at me and said that wasn't true. And that, really, I'd like to for them to give me examples, because I could give them a few. And anyway, I was really pleasantly surprised because of how it started, but then it ended up so good, and I was proud of them for actually making an effort to make it so good. So anyway, you have anything else to say?
No.
Okay, so if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and become one of our subscribers. We would appreciate it. Listening to your feedback, even though, well, this other thing wasn't on our site. It was I was commenting on another guy who's British, and he's commenting on True Detective, which we're not watching.
British people, their series hardly have any episodes at all. Most of the British series only have like 4 to 6 episodes or whatever. Well, British people are used to having trash television.
Well, this is,
Americans for years and years, they had 10 to 20 episodes, and British people, they always had hardly anything to watch.
I don't know who's doing this. It's HBO.
That doesn't matter.
And
it's a British.
Iceland.
It's a British person.
Well, no, he's just doing the review. And he did.
Yeah. So, and British people are used to having hardly any episodes.
Well, he's not the one that criticized me. He agreed with me. He said the same thing.
I don't know why you said he was British then.
Because his name is Brain Pilot. If anybody wants to, he watches a lot of stuff we don't watch. And there was somebody who looked at his site, commented on what I said. And I said, I agreed with him, because he said the same thing. That he felt like there's a lot of stories that are going to be left untold. He doesn't know how they're going to catch up with all of them, because there's one more episode. And I was shocked, because I didn't even know that. So,
yeah,
bye,
Safi.
everybody.
Bye.